Okay. Oh, yeah, it's really super foggy though. I'm having trouble. Okay, I can't see the screen. Okay, maybe if I just turn this thing at the top. Okay, yeah, it's a little clearer, but man, you're so close. You need to back up, No, you're not gonna back up. Oh, binoculars are a funny thing, right? They can help us see really, really, really far away and make things that are far away look close, or they can make us think that things that are actually close are really, really, really far away. But the question is, which one is true? What's up, everybody? My name is Noi, and I am a health and life coach. I help my clients break through destructive patterns of self-sabotage and limiting beliefs to upgrade their identity and become the bravest version of themselves. I am especially passionate about helping women in their middle ages because that's the age I was when I finally started dealing with my own crap. In all of these weekly trainings here in Phoenix Over 40, I share strategies that have helped me with my own personal transformation. And in this video, we're going to discuss how our own perspective of what is true can become a barrier that might be holding us back from becoming everything that we want to be. The definition of perspective is a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, anything. It can be something tangible, it can be a thought, it can be a person. It's basically a point of view. And last week, we discussed the things that we are focusing on, because where focus goes, energy flows, right? And so we talked about this in terms of what information we're taking into our conscious and subconscious brains. Quick recap. Remember that our belief systems create our thoughts, which create our feelings, which create our actions. And those results either reinforce those original thoughts or they have an opportunity to reframe them. 90% of these actions that we do on the day-to-day basis are the result of subconscious programming deep in the recesses of our brain that actually were created since we were born. So last week we discussed ways to control the types of information that is coming into our brain. And if you'd like a link to that replay of that video, please type momentum video in the comments section. The cover picture looks like this, but I am happy to send you a direct link via messenger. So type momentum video into the comment section and I'll send that to you straight away. Now remember, our subconscious mind, 90% of it, we're only really conscious of maybe 10% of what we are doing, unless we're in the middle of maybe like training for a new job, in which case we're using more of our conscious mind because we're having to learn new things. Whenever we take in information, it goes through our frontal cortex, our conscious brain, but then gets deposited into our subconscious brain. Now this week, however, is about ensuring that the information is accurate, because we're taking in 11 billion bits of information each second. All of that information is also getting filtered though through a lens. And that lens stores that information then into our big, beautiful brains. And that lens is the lens of our identity. A few weeks ago, now 3 weeks or so, we also discussed our identity and how it's a series of belief systems that we've developed to explain the world and our role in it. Now, if you'd like a link to that replay, comment identity video in the comment section, and I am happy to send you a link to that. Because this entire series that we're talking about is about how to up-level our identity by breaking down barriers that are keeping us from becoming our bravest self. So in this video, we're going to explore a few examples of how our belief systems can become distorted or outdated and create chaos for us today. And then I'm going to share a powerful tool for testing a thought or a truth to make sure that it's true so that you can make a more well-informed decision about whether or not you want to keep it. At the end of this video, I'm going to offer you a free bonus. This is a really fun opportunity for a free bonus worth $150. So because this is the season for gift giving And I have this awesome gift for you. You've got to stick around to the end to see what that is though. So a little bit of a carrot dangling in front of you, but at the end of this video, I will offer you that free bonus. So stick around with me. Does anybody wear glasses? You're with me today and you wear glasses. I want you to type the word glasses into the comment section. Even if this is the replay, type the word glasses. Play with me here. I wear glasses, at least when I'm on the computer, because I'm on the computer most of the day. And sometimes when you wear glasses though, the lens can get smudged or clouded, you know, by condensation. There's lots of different ways that things can impact these lenses right here. And I have a question. What happens to the picture of reality when that happens? What happens to what you're seeing when you accidentally touch, you know, your lens and they're distorted? I don't know if you can tell right now, but they're distorted. It becomes distorted, right? Everything that you're seeing beyond these lenses becomes distorted. You know, I have this really super annoying thumb fingerprint, like right there, right where my eyes are. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to explain a way to basically clean up and clear up your internal lenses. Okay. But in order to explain this concept, I'd like to start with a personal story. And this is a story from childhood that demonstrates the way that our belief systems can become distorted and even destructive. My kindergarten teacher once told my mother a story about how at recess, I was seated at the bottom of a long flight of stairs, and the older students were coming down for recess from their area because they were upstairs and the little kids, the younger kids, were up downstairs. And I was in kindergarten and I'm trying to get their attention by smiling at them. I always knew as a child, I was always very interested in getting people's attention, loved attention. And I thought if I sat at the bottom and smiled at them, then surely they would smile back. But the truth is these upper graders, I don't even know at this age how old they were, probably 4th, 5th grade, but they ignored me. And after kind of going through a period of this, of all of these people ignoring this little 5-year-old girl that's sitting at the bottom of the steps smiling at them, I ended up feeling very, very sad. And I ended up re-entering my classroom, completely heartbroken, crying to my teacher. In that moment, I felt invisible. And the belief that I created was that I was unworthy of their acceptance or their attention. Now, this belief was later reinforced in 2nd grade. Yes, that is my adorable picture that I hold as an anchor here that I've mentioned in other things. This is my 2nd grade self in my little Catholic school uniform. And in 2nd grade, I boldly stated during a religion class my pride at being a child of God. And we had this activity where we'd walk to the front of the room and we would put this little handmade cross that we'd made in religion class. And we would say, if we dedicate our lives to God, we put the cross onto the altar. It's very emotional for me. Well, a handful of girls in my class, the popular girls, decided that that was not okay. And they decided to start bullying me at that point. They called me goody two-shoes. They shunned me the rest of the year. I wasn't good enough to play with them. In my mind, I took that to mean that I didn't deserve joy and that expressing my feelings honestly would be punished. I even continue to take that to mean that if I followed God, that I would have to be ostracized from society. Can you see how these are a few examples of how two very normal and innocent situations, I mean, girls can be mean, this is just true, this is the way things are, but they're very innocent situations that can get distorted in the mind of a child. And it can create a belief system that can later become destructive and even dangerous. After similar experiences throughout elementary, high school, and junior high, at the age of 16, 2 of my friends were feuding with each other, and both of them demanded that I pick a side. I had to pick a friend or they were going to not be my friend anymore. I could not imagine losing either of them. The thought honestly filled me with a lot of anxiety. Frustrated by my indecisiveness, both friends actually dumped me right there. And I just remember at that point that something in me snapped. The next thing I can remember, I was seated in front of my family doctor, and he was asking me all of these questions. And I was really confused because I was unsure of how I'd even gotten there. But then I looked down at my wrist to see signs of self-mutilation. Apparently, after that happened, I started digging my thumbnail into my wrists. And then a teacher found me, turned me in, and I don't remember much, honestly. And the psychiatrists and psychologists that I saw for years after that called them dissociative fugue states and diagnosed me with PTSD. Ultimately, when I feel attacked or rejected or threatened, I go emotionally numb and I turn that aggression inward because I believe that I'm unworthy of love and acceptance. Some of that was reinforced with those earlier examples, but that underlying belief of unworthiness, of love and acceptance, was cultivated from a very young age and then reinforced multiple times through a lot of different bullying and some chaos at home and things like that. My subconscious mind, though, wants me to feel something, anything. And so that's why my body turns on itself. These episodes actually continued throughout my 20s because I was armed with a tremendous amount of shame and fears of unworthiness. And I began to develop coping skills to protect me from the enemy within. I was positive that because I was hurting myself, I was my own biggest enemy. And one of those coping mechanisms involved unhealthy relationship with food and exercise. When I would feel uncomfortable emotions, I would quickly distract myself with excessive amounts of fatty or sugary foods, which would then pump up my serotonin levels because our serotonin is actually made in our gut. And it would help me to avoid self-mutilating meltdowns because I was afraid of myself. The irony was I was simply trading one self-destructive fugue state for another as I literally emotionally checked out and would consume like 5 to 6 bagels with cream cheese, or a supersized double quarter pounder meal in one sitting, or even an entire pint of ice cream in each sitting. And my body began to change shape. Now, horrified by the thoughts of gaining weight because it would make me less attractive and lovable, right? Fear of rejection. I began following each of these binges then with excessive exercise routines or starvation diets or diet pills. I spent copious amounts of money trying every fad diet and exercise program on the market to avoid gaining weight. And every one of them ended in massive failure because I was honestly at war with myself. And I was trapped in this sick cycle of guilt and shame. Fast forward years later, and my love-hate relationship with food and my body and exercise has created now wellness habits that wreaked havoc on my metabolism and completely dysregulated my hormones. Not only that, but I was also numbing out by making excessive purchases and spending money. That was another way that I was avoiding my feelings. I didn't have the ability to control myself at this point. In addition, my obsessive need for belonging with other people created people-pleasing and codependency patterns in my relationships and in my career field. I was spending excessive amounts of time, money, and energy prioritizing the needs of everybody else in order to protect them from negative emotions so that they wouldn't need me and that I would never have to be rejected or dumped by them, that I would always have their approval. So I was trapped in a guilt and shame cycle of negative emotions, numbing out behaviors, guilt and anxiety, which are more negative emotions, and then more numbing out behaviors. I was trapped in this cycle and I had cultivated an unhealthy lifestyle habits that all reinforced the idea that I was my own worst enemy and I was unworthy of my own love and acceptance. Unable to put up with my self-destruction any longer, my body began developing stress-related illnesses. Hypertension, Barrett's esophagus, generalized anxiety disorder, chronic inflammation were just a few of the many lifestyle diseases that I was diagnosed with. And by the time I was 40, my body and mind could just take no more. I wasn't thriving, being at war with myself. And I desperately needed to make some massive changes or else I was going to die. That was in 2018, the year I decided to blow up myself and start all over. At the age of 40, a time when it's not easy to do. But that was the beginning of my personal Phoenix journey. I had to. My belief systems had created thoughts and feelings and habits that were destructive and dysfunctional. There is a quote by Maya Angelou that I would like to share with you right now. It says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. I love Maya Angelou. She is an inspirational and powerful woman. But if you don't like something, change your attitude. How do we do that? How can we just change our attitude about a situation that feels so strong, so wrong, so unfair, so overwhelming, so sad? Earlier in the week, I actually shared another version of this quote that actually feels more true to me by a different author. Her name is Mary Engelbright, and she says, if you can't change it, change the way you think about it. She is a quiet activist and an illustrator of several children's books, but she has a heart for shaping the minds of children because she understands that most of our belief systems, somewhere around, most scientists believe somewhere around 70 to 75% of our belief systems were created before the age of 6. And all of our feelings, all of our attitudes boil down to our thoughts. It may seem difficult to change a belief system that's been ingrained in us since we were kids. And sometimes it may even seem impossible. But when I was cutting myself or trying to numb out with food or excessive spending, there always was a positive intention for those behaviors. I was trying to wake myself up. I was trying to stop numbing myself. Ironically, I was numbing myself by trying to not numb myself. But you can see how our brain can take a situation and just twist it, like looking through glasses that have giant thumbprints all over them. Those habits, though, were based on disoriented or distorted truths, distorted thoughts that I had about a situation. And I learned, when I learned about habit change coaching, I actually discovered powerful ways to polish up my lens so that I can see each idea more accurately and choose whether or not I want to continue thinking it. We do have a choice, ladies. We have control over our thoughts, more control than we think. Our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings might feel out of control, but our thoughts create our feelings. And it all starts with awareness. We have to become aware of chaos when it begins to show up. We have to learn how to bring attention to the right place and stop focusing on the wrong place. As I've mentioned many times in many other trainings, and this was particularly true in the moving from chaos to curiosity trainings, chaos is a symptom of a belief system being rubbed the wrong way. It is the subconscious brain's way of pointing out something that's out of whack. And in this particular video, I talk about ways to master that mental chaos and also ways to identify that internal chaos. You know, this will be things like anger or being easily offended by something or reactivity or, you know, immense sadness. Those are all signs of something being out of whack. And I shared many of the ways that chaos shows up, body, mind, and spirit. And this is the video for the mind part. If you would like a link to any of these videos, please hit me up on Messenger and I'd be happy to share them with you because they were really great for understanding then the value of curiosity when it comes to battling chaos. But essentially, when we bring awareness to our emotions or other symptoms of chaos in our body or mind, and we look at them with curiosity, instead of judgment or condemnation, frustration, all of the other ways that we, punish ourselves afterwards, militant exercise, all of that stuff. If we look at it with curiosity instead of judgment or condemnation, then we have a powerful opportunity to recalibrate them. And I'm very excited to share with you a powerful coaching tool that can help you do just that. I would like to introduce you to Byron Katie. Byron Katie is a fellow Phoenix woman. I mean, her backstory is legit. And I actually encourage you to look her up, and I will share with you what her book is. But her life, her health, her relationships were in utter chaos for most of her life. It wasn't until she was in her middle life until she discovered a very powerful way to re-examine the chaos in her life, and especially her mind. She created a process called The Work, which is a series of simply 4 questions and a few turnaround statements that can help to fix the focus on a certain thought to discover if it's true or not. It's like if you're trying to look through a binocular at a situation and yet it's foggy. And then what the work does is it literally helps you adjust the knob at the top of the binocular so that you can get a little clearer, and then you can actually make out the real details. This is a fun tool, and I'm going to share with you how it works with an example here. But this is her book, Loving What Is, right here. Love this book. It is very well used. I go over it many different times. In this book, she not only lays out the 4 questions, the turnarounds, how the work works, but she also gives multiple examples from her own client sessions where she's helped people through multiple different types of thoughts. So if you would like more information on that, I just tell you, go get the book. Okay, she shares her entire methodology in this book, and I highly recommend it for anyone who believes that their belief systems might be creating chaos in their life. And matter of fact, if there's ever chaos in your life, your belief systems are creating it. I hate to break it up, but it's about taking responsibility for that fact, okay? For admitting that we are all works in progress, ladies, right? And I'm going to share with you her strategy here today. But for more information, you can check out her website, thework.com. Okay, really easy to find. Katie actually explains a little bit about how this works. She sets the foundation for it in this quote: "You are the storyteller and the projector of all stories, and the world is the projected image of your thoughts." See, the work actually starts off by understanding that our reality is a projected image of our thoughts, okay? But what I love about the work is it doesn't look inward to start with. It actually starts by looking outward at the way that we view someone or some situation outside of us. So for instance, she starts off by judging someone that you feel has wronged you. So maybe a relationship that causes you a lot of chaos, a situation that causes you a lot of chaos, maybe work or whatever, but specifically, she likes to start off by practicing it with one person that you get a chance to judge. And you fill out this whole long worksheet about all the ways that you judge this person. But what I love about that is I've mentioned in a lot of different videos the booby traps that our brain has. Our amygdala does not like the idea of us changing. It's trying to keep us safe. It has a good intention. When we start really diving deeply into our own belief systems through the front door, our amygdala puts up these booby traps to keep us from really seeing it clearly. We have a hard time maybe remembering details of memories, or we just get really distracted or scattered. And those are all ways that stress shows up, floods our body full of cortisol, and that cortisol distorts our brain, okay? By focusing on somebody outside of ourselves, we actually go in a side door. We actually bypass the brain booby traps that our critter brain puts up to keep us from change. So first, we start by taking a look at something someone has done to us and then the thoughts we are creating about that action. This allows us to get curious. Okay, so let's take this as an example. My husband doesn't listen to me. Raise your hand if you have ever said this out loud. Okay, my husband doesn't listen to me. If this is true for you, I'd love to see a thumbs up in the chat section, or say yes, give me a high five. My husband doesn't listen to me. I think that this is a common example that most women who are married share. Now, if you're not married, my partner doesn't listen to me. Let's go with that one. My partner doesn't listen to me. My friend doesn't listen to me. It doesn't matter who the person is. The concept is my husband doesn't listen to me. Let's start there. And we're going to ask the 4 questions of this thought. Okay, so it starts by bringing awareness to the thought. The thought that's making me mad is the fact that my husband doesn't listen to me. First, we ask ourselves the first of the 4 questions, is it true? Seems like a fairly simple question on the surface, right? But by asking ourselves, by taking a step outside of it, asking ourselves this, we allow ourselves to get curious. We try to set our feelings or offense or anger aside, although they're still going to be there. But we just start to get curious about that thought. And it really helps if you write the thought down, because then you're bouncing it off other areas of your brain. You write the thought down, my husband doesn't listen to me, and then ask yourself, is it true? Okay. We just want to get curious. The goal is to just get still with ourselves, turn inward, and then you'll notice that an answer may bubble up. Okay. And if the feelings are especially raw, that answer might be, yes, it's true. He doesn't listen to me. Obviously, he doesn't listen to me. He didn't empty the dishwasher like I told him to, or whatever. But then we get to ask the second question. Is it absolutely true? This question gets us a little deeper into the belief system. Can you know, let me ask you this, can you know absolutely whether or not this is true, that your husband doesn't listen to you? In this situation, can I absolutely know that it's true that my husband doesn't listen to me? Honestly, can we ever really know when someone is listening to us or not? No, because we're not in their head. We don't have their ears. So honestly, can I be absolutely positive that he's not listening to me? Cannot necessarily be absolutely true. Am I sometimes listening even when I appear not to be? We all probably specialize this in our marriages and in our teenage years for sure. Sometimes we can't be positive what's going on because hearing is somebody else's responsibility. That's in their head. That's in their reality. All I can say is what I'm able to observe. And by observing the behavior, I cannot absolutely say that this is true. But we take it a step further. We take it to the third question. How do I react? What happens when I believe that thought, my husband doesn't listen to me? Do I feel frustrated and anxious? Do I get sick to my stomach? Does my heart burn? Do my ears get hot? Do I punish him with silence or ask him the same thing multiple times, nagging? Do I lose my temper? Maybe start talking louder or faster to get his attention? It's important to look at this objectively at this point, like an outsider reviewing a movie, okay? When you're looking outside, you're stepping outside your body and you're looking at yourself, how do you act when you believe the thought? Within your mind, you can learn to take an objective and curious look at the ways you act or feel that are caused by the thought. Because remember, the thought creates the feeling, which creates the action. So if we can't control the action or the feeling, we go to the thought. How am I feeling and acting because of that thought? Isn't that interesting? Isn't it curious? And then we ask the fourth question. Who or what would I be without the thought? This is a powerful question, ladies. Picture yourself standing in the presence of your husband or whoever has offended you, not changing what they're doing. They're not doing anything different, but instead considering what you would be feeling or thinking while still in their presence if you didn't believe the idea that he wasn't listening to you? This is a good one. And take your time with this one and notice what is revealed to you. Because it's really interesting if we step outside and then back inside, we step outside, look at how we're acting and feeling, step back inside and say, if I didn't have that thought, how would I act differently? Might be quite revealing. Now, at this moment, you have an opportunity. You have a choice. You can either hold on to the thought, or you can continue moving through this exercise to see if there might be a more accurate truth available. This is your choice. And I encourage you to understand that, because there are times in our lives where we don't want to give up a thought. Our brain will say, no, I don't want to give up that thought. That thought feels comfortable. That thought's something I've always known. And so we have to get really honest with ourselves. Do we want to consider other possible truths? Or do we want to hold on to this thought kicking and screaming? Now that you've seen the way you act with it and the way you might act without it, you have that choice. You can choose to either keep feeling and doing the things you've always been doing and hoping he changes, or you might be able to now to see a reason for possibly letting go of that thought. But if you do, you have to be able to reframe it. That's where we have the fun part. We then play with the thought and we try on different turnarounds for size. Now, turnaround, this is actually super fun. A turnaround is an opportunity to experience truths that are the opposite of what your original truth was. So one statement turnaround can actually bring many different revelations. So our goal is to get curious about other possible truths and to allow ourselves to explore possible ways that they might maybe feel a little more true, or have them basically shift our perspective from looking at the situation like this to maybe looking at it from a different angle. Other truths can sometimes reveal something that can allow us to feel more peaceful about the situation, can create a powerful gateway into a kinder and more self-realized life. And so this is the opportunity to look at the same situation through different lenses, okay? So for instance, we might take this statement and just turn around the noun that's involved, okay? We're turning around the husband. And it goes from my husband doesn't listen to me to I don't listen to myself. So we're just turning around that first part, the my husband part. I don't listen to myself. Slow down and identify examples of how you weren't listening to yourself in that situation where you have that argument with your husband. You know, for me, I noticed that when I would have arguments with my husband, I was often more focused on proving I was right and that he wasn't listening to me, and I would be shouting accusations or giving ice queen insults or rolling my eyes without even really listening to myself half the time. How true does that feel for you? I don't listen to myself. The next possible turnaround, if that one doesn't feel true, we're only trying it on for size, doesn't have to feel true. The next possible turnaround might be, I don't listen to my husband. In this one, try to think about examples of how you weren't listening to him in that situation, or maybe not trying to see things through his perspective. Are we so involved with trying to tell him all of the ways that he has hurt us that we're not listening to his arguments back? You know, are we really listening to our husbands, while we are thinking about how he's not listening to us? Are we even allowing his words to sink in? I don't know. Another possible turnaround is he doesn't listen to me, or my husband doesn't listen to me. Is it possible that, or does listen to me, sorry, my husband does listen to me. Is it possible that he was actually hearing what you were saying at the time? Maybe just processing it in his own way. I know that I get this way with my mom, and this one always trips me up. But she'll tell me something like obvious, like she'll say, don't forget to wear a jacket today, and I will go about my business, walking around the house, getting my stuff together like I didn't even hear her. Because my initial thought is, I am a grown ass woman, mom, and I think I know when I need a jacket. How dare you mother me? I am 44 years old. But then later, when I'm leaving the house, I will hear her voice in my head. I'll look both ways, make sure she's not looking, and I will grab my jacket because I know that she's right. I just don't want her to know it. Okay. And still, don't tell her. She's not in this group. In this situation, is it possible that he is listening to you, just not acting or reacting to you in the way that you expected? Perhaps he just doesn't want to follow your advice because he thinks there's a different way to do it. Or perhaps he just, maybe there's a better timing that works for him. Maybe he doesn't want to do it in that moment. I don't want to empty the dishwasher in that moment. The fact is, we can't be positive that he wasn't listening, can we? Because listening is his business. That's the thought that we're associating with his action, but it isn't necessarily true that he isn't listening. Now, these are just a few examples of trying to see and try on other possible truths for size, and then checking in with ourselves to see if the chaos has abided by going through these steps. Now, this is a powerful tool, and when cultivated regularly, it can actually really help you polish up your lenses, regulate your emotions in a particularly raw moment. And by using this strategy in my own life, I've noticed that I'm far less reactive in volatile situations. Things that would have normally triggered me really easily, I'm less reactive, and I actually pause first. And it's far easier for me now to regulate my emotions during and after conflict-filled situations. I can deal with conflict more efficiently now. I actually have a really good relationship with my ex-husband now, and he even comes to me for marriage advice. Don't tell his wife. Because I actually help him reframe the conflicts with her in a healthier way so that he can avoid some of the pitfalls that we experienced in ours. And I would like to offer you the opportunity now to practice this powerful tool with me for free, to help you get clarity and calm in one particular situation with one person, maybe one triggering memory that is particularly chaotic for you. And it actually starts by filling out a worksheet, like I mentioned, and clarifying the thoughts that you're creating about that situation. And then I help run you through the questions and help you create the turnarounds so that you have an opportunity to practice being curious and investigating your own thoughts in a safe place with a person who is actually objective, isn't a part of the argument, and can help you maybe see truths that you would not have otherwise seen. That's the value of having a coach. We stand outside of you and give you a different perspective that in the storm you might not be able to have. So if you're interested, this is $150 value. This is one session, but I'm offering you this powerful transformational session for absolutely free. This is a great value. And all I would ask for in return is a short client testimony about how it went. I'd like to get the news out about how powerful this is from people that have experienced more than just me. So that's it. If you're interested in taking me up on this deal, you can either reach out to me on Messenger or let me know in the comments below, even if this is the replay, and I will reach out to you. I am shown the comments afterwards. Facebook is awesome about letting me know about that. So thank you for joining me for this video on a powerful way to shift your perspective. And I want to let you know, remind you that in the future, we will be changing the times of these trainings, 3 p.m. Hawaii time, every Wednesday going forward. So join me right here for more exciting trainings about upgrading your identity and shifting your limiting beliefs. I'm Noi, it rhymes with joy, and I hope this video helps you cultivate a little more joy in your life. Take care.